Academica Media. From Academica Media Studios in Miami, Florida, it's Big Ideas in Education, a weekly recap of inspiration and innovation in your schools.
Welcome, everybody, to Big Ideas in Education. We are on location at the Florida Charter School Conference School Choice Summit, or if you're a fan of acronyms, FCSCSCS, which I think is just downright delightful. Ryan Kairalla here, and our guest this week is an education attorney at the Arnold Law Firm. So we got two education attorneys talking to you this week. Hopefully that's not enough to make you turn your podcast off. But this guy's great. As part of his practice, he specializes in helping schools and other education organizations navigate controversies in the school environment. You can find out more about his work by visiting arnoldlawfirmllc.com. We are happy to welcome Braxton Padgett onto Big Ideas in Education. Hi, Braxton.
Hi, Ryan. Thank you so much for having me. It's really a pleasure to be here.
It's a thrill to have you here. I almost forgot what education attorneys are actually supposed to look like, because I can't remember the last time I wore a necktie, and you got the full suit and tie on. I feel woefully underdressed here, but I think that's what people want in their attorneys, right? You want a little bit of, pomp and circumstance. I feel like I'm in something official here with how well you're dressed right now.
No, you're dressed great. Don't worry about it. But yes, we do have to put our attorney appearance on while we're here at the conference. But I will, full disclosure, I do not dress like this every day.
That's good to know. But while you're here, I feel like I can trust you. I feel like I'm going to get some great insights from you. Just the necktie. It's all about the necktie.
Thank you.
First of all, you gotta love the atmosphere, right? Seeing all these amazing education professionals just walking by, some of them peeking at our table. We're right by the coffee station. I think that's going to be good foot traffic, and it also makes me really want coffee.
It does. Yeah, it's always really great to come out to this conference every year. We get a chance to put faces to a lot of these people that we've talked to, maybe even just through emails, or that we've corresponded with in other ways. Maybe we've seen them on Zoom, but it's the one time of year that we kind of get to see all of our clients together, and it's really great. We get to make some new connections. And the weather is beautiful here in Orlando, and we're really enjoying our time here.
The weather is treating us so well this week. I want to talk to you and let the listeners know about the session you're leading about navigating controversies in the school environment and the role that you play on the law side of that. But before we even get into that, I want to hear a little bit about your education law origin story. What got you interested in this field as a lawyer?
Yeah, so first of all, I will say that when I tell people what I do, that I'm an education law attorney, I see question marks above people's heads. It's not something, it's an area of the law that I think people even realize that we need lawyers. And to be fair, there's not a ton of us, especially that are doing this work specific to charter schools. How I got into this, I guess my resume just kind of pushed me down this road. I actually started, after I got my bachelor's degree, I was a U.S. history teacher for 2 years. And so I got some education experience that way. I decided I wanted to go back to school, and I went to law school at the University of Florida. Go Gators.
Oh, no. We were hitting it off so well, Braxton. I can't believe it.
I guess we'll just have to conclude the podcast here then. So, yeah, I went back to law school. I actually, when I was in law school, I got an internship with the U.S. Department of Education's Office for Civil Rights in Atlanta. I worked there for a summer. And then as I was looking for a job, I stumbled across the Arnold Law Firm, and they have a practice. It's led by Sean and Melissa Arnold, and they have a practice that's dedicated specifically to charter schools, private schools, management companies, that type of thing. I mean, they operate completely in this space. There's very, very few attorneys or law firms that do what we do. And so, it turned out I was a good fit given my background in education, and that's how I got here.
Well, the social studies teacher to education lawyer pipeline, I think, is a real thing. It seems like a pretty natural transition. You certainly hear about lots of social studies people who love government and things like that ending up in law. That makes perfect sense. And it makes perfect sense for a social studies teacher who is obviously going to be interested in the law and is going into law school and becoming a practicing attorney to want to keep that life and education going, take the things that they learned into the classroom and bring it to their legal practice. That all makes perfect sense. And we're glad to have you here. And I'm glad that you spoke about the unique need that charter schools have for education lawyers. I tell people with the increased autonomy that a charter school has relative to, say, a district school, comes additional legal needs. That school is responsible for a greater set of operations than a traditional public school is, and as a result, they have a greater range of legal needs and need firms like you to help with that. Can you reflect on that a bit?
Yeah, definitely. One thing I tell people, again, I get question marks. Well, why does a charter school need an attorney in the first place? And what I tell people is, look, these are businesses at the end of the day. Just what the product that they provide is education services to students. And so there's a myriad of legal issues and legal needs that they have. It could be as simple as, hey, we need someone to look at a contract. It's a frequent thing we do. Policy development. When you're developing policies, they need to be very thoughtful. And having an attorney be able to look at your policies, I think, is a huge benefit. Things like that. We also do handle litigation. Charter schools get sued and sometimes have a need that they need to sue themselves, and so we will assist them in that. So there's a whole range of things. I can tell you a lot of my day can be taken up by just getting a phone call. It's, hey, we're thinking about doing X, Y, Z. They're just looking to talk through an issue,
Yeah.
and so having a lawyer to just kind of bounce off some ideas and get our input, it's a benefit we think we provide to the clients.
And for the law students and the young lawyers out there who are maybe looking at what kind of clients do I want to serve in my legal practice, I mean, let me know if you agree with this. If you are the kind of lawyer that wants to do a bunch of different things, doesn't want to do the same thing every day, and maybe you wake up and you don't know what you're going to be doing that day, I would say charter school law is a great area to get into because you work on a wide range of issues. In my own experience working with charter school clients, I've done everything from corporate law to contract law, copyright, trademark, litigation. You don't know what they're going to bring your way, but because charter schools have so much autonomy and because they're encountering so many different things, you as a lawyer got to know a little bit about a lot of different subjects.
Oh, 100%. I think you completely nailed it. We often tell people, look, we're essentially like general counsel. We're not in-house general counsel, but the role that we play is similar. We have to have, like you said, a wide range of knowledge on a lot of different areas. Sometimes that's knowing, hey, being able to issue spot and know, hey, maybe this is outside of our expertise, but we need to get them to somebody who does specialize in this type of area. But yeah, to your point, I never know what I'm going to walk into every day. It's not run-of-the-mill. I'm always running into new issues, new things that we've got to research and learn and tackle. And it's very fulfilling because, yeah, one day I do work on an intellectual property licensing agreement. The next day I'm doing pleadings for a lawsuit. The next day I'm drafting a contract. And yeah, I really like that diversity of work. It's very satisfying as an attorney. And also say that I think it makes me and the other attorneys in my firm much more well-rounded attorneys. We do get this breadth of knowledge in all these different areas. And so I think that's part of, again, the kind of benefit that we're able to bring to these schools is we do have that wide range of knowledge.
Now, let's talk about the reason why you're at the conference, other than, of course, to meet with all your clients and everything. But you're actually giving a talk at the conference about navigating controversies in schools. Now, obviously, many of the days you have as an attorney can be pretty smooth ones. You're just looking at a contract here or helping advising a board on something there. But then sometimes you get what might be considered crises. You get that phone call from a school, something's gone wrong. There's some kind of controversy. You have to help the school work through it. And that's what I would love to talk to you about, because I think that's really where lawyers earn their stripes and create the most value for education organizations. Can you tell us a little bit about the sort of controversies? Give us a couple examples of the kind of controversies that schools navigate in your practice.
Yeah, definitely. First of all, I'll tell you that this is not the type of phone call we ever want to get.
Certainly not.
But it's one that we do get sometimes, and it's there's times we got to go all hands on deck because there's a fire that started, metaphorically at one of our schools. So yeah,
Perhaps even literally.
and hopefully not. Yeah, hopefully not. So yeah, I mean, it can be all kinds of things. I mean, I can tell you in Florida in particular right now, we're seeing a lot of controversy around about curriculum, about books. That's something that really has been kind of brought to the fore due to recent regulations and litigation and legislation, I should say, in our state. And so that's an area it could be in everything from there could be a criminal act that happens at one of our schools. You have a rogue employee that does something that's criminal. Now the school is having to deal with that. It can be all kinds of things. Sometimes it can be, and one of the things we'll talk about in my presentation today is sometimes it's even smaller issues that go ignored by the administration or the board that suddenly blossoms into a much bigger issue because you start to lose the narrative at your school, and then what we're trying to do is kind of help get back control of the situation.
I feel like so many of the controversies that education lawyers like you and me encounter in our schools are that. They are things that had we had a chance to intervene earlier, they could have been resolved more quickly, but because, it was sat on by an administrator or they didn't realize it was a small issue that could be becoming a big issue, it then became a big issue. So let's talk about step one in that controversy process. If you are a school leader or some professional on a campus and you see something that could wind up becoming a controversy or is already a controversy, what is the very first thing that you might recommend this professional do?
I think the very first thing that you need to do if you see something that you're thinking, okay, this could evolve into something, is gather the facts quickly. Figure out what exactly is going on. Make sure that you have all of the information. This is something that we see sometimes is people don't go through this step. Turns out there was more to the story, and they never even looked into it. So I think the first step is to make sure you know and fully understand as a school leader what exactly is going on so that you can make appropriate decisions.
Now, at some point in this controversy process, hopefully as early as possible, the attorney gets brought in. Mm-hmm. And I know a lot of school leaders are often afraid of that. They, sometimes, sometimes you have the school leaders, by the way, who have no problem talking to the attorney. They love talking to the attorney. I have some principals who will call me every week, every time, they break a nail or something. And, we love those people because it always allows us to solve their problems before they become big problems. But you also have some school leaders that are afraid to talk to an attorney. They think they'll get in trouble. They don't know if that's a proper protocol. And oftentimes the extent to which a controversy can be effectively solved is usually a function of how well that school leader talks to you as the education lawyer, right? And is an effective teammate in helping you help them resolve this controversy. So with that being said, do you have any advice for the school leaders out there on how they can be most effective in working with you so that you can help them effectively solve their problem?
Yeah, so what I would say is if you have any inkling that this could be something, just send it to your lawyer. Have them look at it. It could be that I look at it and say, I don't think there's anything to it. A simple email or picking up the phone to call doesn't hurt. And let's just have that conversation and figure out, do we think that this is something that we need to be paying more attention to, that we need to be taking some certain actions? Pick up the phone and call the attorney. I think it's critically important. As you indicated, we oftentimes get pulled in late into the game. The fire's already completely raging at this point. And so instead of helping them take preventative measures, we're now just playing complete damage control. And we don't ever want to be in that situation. So I think it's early. It's good to engage professionals early. If you have, some schools do have a PR professional or consultant. Those types of people are great. Sometimes when they come to us, we recommend, hey, let's also pull in a PR consultant here. Lynn Normantek is going to be on my panel. She's the executive director of the Florida Charter School Alliance. She's great with crisis management. There's often times where we say, hey, let's call Lynn and let's get her thoughts on this as well, or other people like her. And so,
let's call Lynn is just generally good advice.
I agree. Yes.
Ever, always, yes.
I agree. Yeah, and sometimes I would say this is, especially if you're going to put out a statement or address a situation in some way, just having multiple sets of eyes on that from different types of people, especially people who are trained in this type of thing, is really important, because you can put out a statement that you think is well intentioned, and probably is, and is saying all the right things, and then it gets completely misconstrued. People clip out one or two sentences out of it. That does not sound good. Next thing you know, that statement that you were trying to put out to help the situations only hurt worse.
Yeah. Do you have any other pieces of advice just in this subject area for schools and school leaders about how to effectively handle these kind of controversies and the role that you play as an attorney?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that, first of all, some things that you can do just to prevent these in the first place is to make sure you have strong policies in place at your school. This is something that oftentimes we see that, it's like people are building the train while it's in motion. We realize we need a policy because we're already in the crisis situation. Get with your attorney about what are some policies that we can have in place before we're in a crisis. Maybe can help prevent it, or at the very least can help manage it when we're in the midst of it.
That makes a lot of sense. You can find out more about our guest's work by visiting ArnoldLawFirmLLC.com. Our guest has been Braxton Padgett of the Arnold Law Firm, talking to us about how schools and school leaders can navigate controversies on their campus and the role that education lawyers like Braxton play in that regard. This has been a treat. I've learned a lot, and it's nice trading some war stories with you, my friend. Before we let you go, one last question. If with the snap of your fingers you could make any change to the education system, what change would it be?
Yeah, I think in particular in Florida, one thing I would like to see is slowing down a little bit on the amount of regulation that we're getting in the state, and let the educators focus on educating their children or their students. I think that's something that very much we would like to see. There's a lot of rapid regulation happening. It's difficult for them to keep up with, and so we'd like to see the focus shift back to the students.
Makes perfect sense to me. Braxton, thank you so much for joining us this week. This has been a real treat.
Thank you, Ryan.
The views expressed on the preceding program have been those of the hosts and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views of Academica, its clients, staff, affiliates, or advertisers.